Hello, exceptional children of Mrs. Whitney's math class. Today we're going to work on section 1.3, which is subtracting integers. By now you've done all of the Pear Deck things and you've played around enough with subtracting integers that you should probably get a good idea that really subtracting is adding the opposite of the second number. So for instance here you'll see that you have 3 subtract -4, and that's the same thing as saying 3 plus a -4, and the answer is -1. So again, if you have 3 things and you take away 4 things, you're left with one less than you already had to begin with, so -1. So let's do a couple of examples here. So we're going to do find 3, subtract 12. So what you do is you, oops, I have to, I'm drawing. Let's do it in red. You start with 3, and then it's 3 subtract 12, and then we're going to add the opposite. And this is important that you do this step. Say 3 plus a -12. And now we just do the rules of addition. So we know, are the signs the same or different? Well, they're different signs. So that means we subtract. So 12 subtract 3, we end up with 9. And it is a -9 because there was more negatives than positives. So negative because more negatives than positives when we first began. You have to look at every single step. Don't go back here and overthink it when you're on this step. You've changed the problem, only deal with those numbers. Okay? Let's try the next one. We have -8 subtract a -13. So the first step is to add the opposite. So we have -8. Change that to addition. We change the -13 to a +13 because that's the opposite. Well, they're different, so we subtract. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's 5. And it is actually, well, let's take this and, oops. We'll say that that goes over there. And this is positive because you had more positives than negatives. And this one goes with that one. All right, let's try this one. So we have 5 subtract a -4. Again, we're going to add the opposite. And we know that it's 5 plus -4 becomes +4. And that's just adding 2 together. And my answer is 9. Not so bad. Okay, let's try a row of them, a line of them. So if we have -7, and we subtract -12, and then we subtract 14. So let's rewrite this as an addition problem. We end up with -7. We're going to change that to addition, which means that's the opposite. So that becomes 12. That is subtraction, so we're going to change that to addition, and that becomes the opposite, which would be -14. And now we can start adding them together. I'm going to start with these two because I think it's a little easier. If I have -14 and I add it to 12, the signs are different, so I subtract. So I end up with -2. So that becomes -7 plus a -2. Signs are the same, so I add them together. I get 9, and we use the common sign, so it's -9. Okay, our real life application. So which continent has the greatest range of elevation? I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Range is one of the most favorite questions that you get word problems for when you're doing subtracting of integers. They seem to like it. You end up getting a negative, subtracting a negative, so it kind of makes sense. So we have to figure out what the range is from the highest to the lowest. Remember, range questions are the largest, subtract the lowest. So if we have 6,198, and we subtract -86, again, I'm going to have to add the opposite. So I'm going to change this to addition. That I'm going to flip it, or add the opposite. So add opposite. So I end up with an addition problem here. And I'm going to whip out a calculator just because I don't want to mess up the side over there with my calculations. So 6,198 plus 86 equals 6,284. At this point, you should really be thinking, well, does that make any sense? I'm using a subtraction problem, and I end up with a number that's larger than both of those numbers. That doesn't seem to make sense when we're talking about subtraction. Except when we're talking about the range, you're looking at something that is 6,198 meters above sea level. Let's say sea level is here. And you're comparing it to something that is negative 86. Well, you have to jump up 86 steps just to get to sea level, and then you have to jump up another 6,198 meters to get to the highest elevation. So it does kind of make sense that it's actually larger. All right, let's try the other one. In Africa, it's 5,895 meters. Subtract negative 155. Again, we're going to add the opposite because it's a subtraction problem. So that becomes addition. That's 155 because you take the opposite of negative 155. And again, I'm going to use my calculator. So 5,895 plus 155, I get 6,050 meters. So it turns out that the greatest range of elevation is in North America because that number is larger than that number. And I believe that's it. Thanks for watching.